had recently one of the most astonishing experiences of my reading life. On page 248 in The Rings of Saturn, W.G. Sebald is recounting his interviews with one Thomas Abrams, an English farmer who's been working on a model of the Temple of Jerusalem. You know, gluing little pieces of wood together, for 20 years, including the painstaking research required for historical accuracy. There are ducks on the farm, and at one point, Abrams says to Sebald, "I have always kept ducks, even as a child, and the colors of their plumage, in particular the dark green and the snow white, seem to be the only possible answer to the questions that are on my mind." It is an odd thing to say, but Sebald's book is a long walk of oddities. I didn't remember this passage in particular until later the same day, when I was reading the dictionary, where I came upon the meaning of the word speculum. 1. An instrument inserted into a body passage for inspection. 2. An ancient mirror. 3. A medieval compendium of all knowledge. 4. A drawing showing the relative position of all the planets. And 5. A patch of color on the secondary wings of most ducks and some other birds. Did Sebald know that a compendium of all knowledge and the duck's plumage were one and the same? Did Abrams? Or was I the only one for whom the duck passage made perfect original sense? I sat in my chair, shocked. I'm not a scholar, but for the imaginative reader there can be discoveries, connections between books that explode the day in one's heart and the long years that have led to the moment.
I'll just say why that Orphe, which I just looked at in connection with something, that I wanted to bring it in to this thing that I'm writing on it, because I remember seeing Orphe. I must have been, I don't know, it was in the 40s, like young, with my mother, and we used to go to the film. I mean, we would go to this one theater which showed foreign films in Boston, the Exeter, and with Mama, you see, everything Europe was wonderful and everything American was just pathetic in comparison when it came to the theater or film or anything. And I was completely in her camp, and just complete. And the spell of that cocktail movie, and also Beauty and the Beast. Now, looking at the cocktail movie, it seems artificial. I mean, I love it, but I can only see it with the second the music starts in that movie. Mummy and me sitting together in the cinema comes back to me. So my dead mother returns to me via Cocteau. I can't describe how vivid it is. It's just searing. But it's the French voices and the moving through the mirror and putting on the gloves and then going through the liquid mirror that opens up onto the dark. There was something about the miracle of seeing that when in the theater, And it was also the same thing with Beauty and the Beast, the way, again, as I remember, there were gloves in Beauty and the Beast, and also he changes and the statues turn their heads and the eyes move. Well, all of that, and then also in Orpheus, the death on the motorcycle, the people who came, it made death moving. I think that one of the things when I think about that movie now is it's as though he was trying to stop freezing, to make it, to talk about death, but make death come toward you. I think it's very important that when they go through the mirror, Orpheus is, he's moving and Eurydice is floating ahead of him. And then when they go backwards in time, that gets reversed. I suppose the film was just reversed. It didn't seem quite the same way. But there was something about the way the sound worked when they slipped through the mirror, and the way they moved, and the stuff, the detritus blew towards them. And it was all about moving through barriers. Everything in that movie that profoundly kind of affected me seemed to be, now that I think of it, breaking that barrier. And I think that he was, that's what the sort of, but when I was young and I saw it, I'm not that, now I'm over 60, the next thing for me is that death. But when you're young, you don't think of this. But I'm stunned at the way, just when I watch it on a little tiny television in that place we're staying in now, all that has to happen is that music has to start and they have to go, and Mummy just comes, and she might as well be sitting beside me. It's profoundly moving, which is sort of what the cinema, I don't know, it's all very complicated, because when David died, I write this in the Chris Marker thing, I couldn't look at this movie, a home movie, I couldn't look at him moving. I still haven't looked at it, but I could look at it now, but I couldn't. For 3 years, I couldn't have even glanced at that. So it's about, in the film, for me, there's something about motion. But there is something also about that sense of sitting in a great darkened theater, and that it's not theater, but it's film. My mother was always, the theater is so much better than film, you're on, always film was far better to me than theater. I was just, couldn't do anything went in film, which didn't go in theater. But there was something about, that has gone now for movies, that the sort of fact that you were seeing it in what really was a theater, not a movie theater, a theater that had been made over for movies. So there was all that mystery